Before we take questions, I'd just like to make a comment in relation to Robert's suggestion of taking the case to them. We're a visual medium. There's several excellent videos out, including one by Robert entitled JFK, The Case for Conspiracy. There's another video, a 4.5-hour survey of the case divided into 7 parts that I prepared in 1994 that includes the medical discoveries by David Mantik, the discovery about the diagrams and photograph by Robert B. Livingston, and the rest of the state of the art as of 1994, which even includes discussion of 15 indications of Secret Service complicity in the assassination and evidence that the Zapruder film has been altered. Now, Andy has about a dozen of those. The thought I have is this: if you pick up a copy of that and mail it to friends or relatives in cities, ask them to put it on your community access television channel, because by God, they'll play it on those community access television channels, and with considerable effect. A former student of mine, for example, who's doing graduate work at the University of Michigan, had this video that I prepared in '94 put on their local community access channel, came back about a year later to talk, thinking maybe it was time to put it on again, and when they discovered who it was, a general manager came out, started shaking his hand and telling him how they'd had more requests for this video, which they'd already played 8 times since he had brought in. And I'm just telling you, this is a simple way to reach out to the community and get this information out there and stimulate interest, so let me encourage you to do it. It's a modest investment that potentially might have a great return. Let me now open the floor to questions for Doug Weldon. Yes?
I'll talk here. Okay, and I'd like to respond to Bob's questions too, but go ahead.
And this is, I guess, in general. Why the first shots fired from the front if they're trying to frame Oswald from the back?
My feeling is that the framing of Oswald was a plan that developed in the aftermath of the assassination. They improvised. That's why things are so sloppy. I don't think it was dependent on the beginning. The opportunity presented itself to frame Oswald with a lot of things that happened, and that's why it wasn't so well conceived, and that's why secrets weren't kept.
And if a bullet goes through a windshield and ends up in a body, would there be glass particles in the wound? And would that be a reason why the tracheotomy was all torn apart?
I don't think that explains the tracheotomy, but certainly, again, I'm not a medical expert, but I would think that there would be some glass fragments that would carry into the throat if it would be driven through the windshield. Let me just respond to Bob's real quick. As far as the Greer, I'm not sure that Greer had to know that there, I don't know who knew what, that there was going to be a shot coming through the windshield. Greer, if he was involved, might have just been told to, slow down. And matter of fact, I would not, if I was planning that, I would never let Greer know that, yeah, there's going to be a shot coming right past your head. Somebody's going to be shooting at the president. And the other question kind of dovetails into his. If the glass ended up shattering, I would guess that they would have done a lot of tests. But if it did, the question is, so what? Because I think the framing of an Oswald, everything that transpired, a lot of it was improvised after the assassination. So I don't think it's that critical. It just gave them an opportunity to do some things the way that things worked out. Okay.
Yes. I don't know why John Armstrong has run off with extensive notes, I think.
No, he's still up here.
Okay, I'm going to only do one. On your log book, a log sheet.
Yes.
The first 5 names they look as if they were all signed in by the same person.
Right.
It actually shows in Secret Service as a number of also.
Right.
The second name is Cortland Cunningham.
Right.
Cortland is not
Secret Service. He's FBI. He's one of the people that examined.
Ballistics expert. He's incorrectly given credit for having done the JFK Connolly ballistics examination. He did the Tippett ballistics.
I'm glad you noted that, because he was one of the people that was one of the FBI agents that examined the the night of the assassination.
That's just a mistake to have listed him with the Secret Service people?
I don't know why they did. I mean, it is strange. I mean, I have no explanation. Yes. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Second name down.
Based upon your research, is it fair to say that in the design of that $200,000 vehicle, probably $1 million car today, there wasn't much planning or attention to the idea of acceleration and ultimately responding to an emergency? Greer says that he was frozen in trying to get that, what you I think were describing as a cruise control, into the overdrive so he could take off.
If that cruise control existed, literally it would have been overridden by him hitting the brake. It would be like a cruise control. They were supposed to run at a parade speed. Again, I'm very reticent because Willard Hess has been very candid and open with me, and he's kind of retracted, and I'm interested to see what he sent me. Roy Schaefer showed me an article last night which seems to suggest, he gave me a schematic and showed me something which seems to suggest that that throttle was there. The car had no acceleration problems, and that is clearly seen in Bob's films. When that car takes off, it takes off. So I don't see it having an acceleration problem at all.
The construction of the vehicle, by the way, cost approximately $1 million. We have the work order and all that, so actually the government was paying for it about $1 million to
Well,
destroy the scene of the crime.
right, for Johnson.
Bill's presence on the back of the limo on Main Street is news to me. Do you know, is that alluded to at all in the warrant committee?
I don't remember.
Do you think there's an innocent explanation?
Yeah, the innocent explanation is I don't think that the Secret Service was told by Kennedy to stay off his vehicle. And
Why would he withdraw between Maine and Elm as well?
well, they are taking, you know, to be honest, they are taking a turn there, and the cars are close together. I don't know. Maybe just decided to hop a ride. But
About to say it happened 2 or 3 times during the motorcade. This was not the only incident.
Right.
Flint Hill Road on the back.
That particular photograph was taken at the turn from Harwood Street on Maine.
right,
On it then, he was on 2 Avenue.
right.
On 11th Avenue, he was running beside the wall during the time. For the most part, he didn't stay up there. He went there for a very short period of time.
Unless you want to listen to my presentation for 12 hours, I've got some very interesting things that happen on Lemon Avenue too.
Right.
Just an observation, question, answer. Okay, if the bullet, which I believe hit the windshield, it made a heck of a lot of noise. By the way, I was in the car when that happened. You know when that hits the windshield, that's what I acknowledge. Why did Greer take off then? He waited 6 seconds later. I think that's very crucial.
There are many indications that William Greer was a crucial figure in the assassination. He was the only person who could have saved Jack Kennedy's life once it turned into the Plaza. Rick?
It would just seem to me, maybe this is just my logic, that if I'm driving down if I'm driving down the street and something hits my windshield, whether it's a bullet or a stone or anything else, the first thing I'm going to do is hit the brake and reacting to it, not accelerate. It seemed to me if somebody at that point in time on Elm Street wanted to slow the car down, perhaps they let another volley of shots come into the limousine. The best thing to do is to shoot in front of the car. And also in the Mormon picture, it seems to me that Hellerman at that point in time has something in front of his face, like a notebook or something, perhaps reacting to the blast.
Well, he was supposedly talking into one of the phones, Kellerman, is a radio phone. The car was equipped with that. You know, I don't know how you'd react, but the key is that the car was going slow before then, at the time of the throat shot.
60 feet to react. I mean, I think they off right away. I think I was fine.
Right.
And the key is that they did not react, and if they did not react, it can only be because they expected something like that to happen and they were prepared for it, and they did not slow the limousine or give any indication that they were aware it had even happened. Yes?
First of all, wasn't Clint Hill Jackie's Secret Service?
Yes.
Why he's running back and forth?
He was invited at the last minute.
Yeah.
He wasn't intended to be a part of the detail. It was only because he was her personal bodyguard that they could not override her request.
Kellerman was not supposed to be there. Kilduff was not supposed to be there. The changes that took place that day are amazing if you examine them.
That was my question. In your examination of this with the Ford Motor Company, I know this is far-fetched, but any correlation between Bach McNamara, hired by Kennedy, head of Ford Motor Company,
I don't see anything. Right, I don't see any connection there. Again, I tend to be conservative. I tend not to find conspiracies under every rock. I tend to try to examine the evidence pretty critically. And when I make a statement like I do, I'm pretty confident.
Yes.
At the moment of the assassination,
Louder, please.
At the moment of the assassination, there were 2 lines of traffic which were intervening. They were also moving over the traffic that was blocked on one side.
Right.
What are the implications of that for the trajectories which you propose?
It would have no effect.
The storm drain?
No, you're up above. It would have no effect at all.
Yeah, it's very important to understand on both sides of this triple overpass, there's a storm drain, but it's elevated well above the ground, and a man could stand upright in the storm drain and look through a slot, okay? It's very much like in a castle, where you have these slots for archers or whatever, and it's remarkable in its elevation. The word storm drain does not convey the physical properties.
The top of Elm Street is different, but then again, the trajectory has nothing to do with the top of the street on the other side. By the time where the shooter is, you're well above it.
And it's also not to be confounded with actual drains at curb level, which have sometimes been suspected as having been shooting locations as well. Yeah.
True.
When Brazil did that reenactment, they did it on the, you might have mentioned, sorry, which storm drain?
Jack Brazil studies everything that I've seen was always on the north storm drain, the opposite side. Bob would probably know this.
On the road level or above?
No, it's above. It's the same. It's symmetrical.
The one that Jack Brazil was talking about is actually the same one that was used in the X-Files and
Right.
Kennedy Part 6 on the north sidewalk of Elm Street.
How about the train?
Well, Jack Brazil is in the storm drain on the top of the underpass there. Right. He's doing both. He's doing both.
Train that apparently was going by, one of the policemen commented on the noise level that he couldn't hear it because of the train.
Well, that certainly would have helped.
Yeah. Have you considered possibly there might have been a shooter in the train?
No.
What's that? There was no moving train. Yes, apparently there was.
I don't know, but no, I think that would be just impossible.
Up in the back.
There are some new Plaza for some wanting to go there to make it, I guess. You referred to things that have changed, the storm drain being sealed over. Now, and again, you're saying the north side is essentially a mirror image now?
Oh, it always was a mirror image.
Okay, so if I go there,
You can see what it was like because the north drain is still open and visible. They didn't change it at all.
okay, and the freeway sign is down, are there any other physical changes that they?
Well, Roy mentioned the lamp post.
Lampposts have been put in, and some of them have been moved. I understand. Is Jack here? Haven't some of those, where is
As far
Jack?
as things,
Well, Bob's going to know as well as anybody, too.
Let's call on Bob Grote, who had the question.
There have been layers added to the street that changed the sewer drain that was on Elm Street a little bit.
Very quickly, whoever was mentioning the idea of the train, the Bell film was taken as the president's car went underneath the underpass, and it clearly shows the top of the overpass. There absolutely was no train even on it, never mind even moving. That was a rumor. As far as rebuilding in the plaza goes, it's very much the same now as it was then, except that the street lamps that were on the sidewalk then have been moved back into the grass because people kept running into it, including a police officer at one time. They were driving up onto the sidewalk. And the ones on the south curb were never there at all. They've been added since. The construction on the George Allen Courthouse building, which was under construction at the time of the assassination, is now finished. It's done. And the Stemmons Freeway sign, of course, is gone, and the later one, the R.L. Thornton Freeway sign, has been changed. It's different now, but the location is the same.
And the Hertz sign is off the roof.
The Hertz sign is off the roof, of course. The Daltex fire escape is gone now, which was there at the time. The road has been paved over several times since then. Although one thing that's rather interesting is that the yellow paint stripes that were on the south curb of Elm Street, although very, very faded and almost completely gone, that original paint is still there. Very little of it, but some of it is still there. The stockade fence itself is in the same position it always was, but it's been rebuilt about 7 times, and souvenir hunters just keep attacking it all the time. But none of the pickets that are there now are legitimate original ones, too. Except for that, and the fact, of course, that the Reunion Tower and the hotel are there now, which weren't there before. It's still very much the same. There was a cement factory on the south side of Industrial at the time, which is now gone and has been replaced by by a new jail, which is there. They have just done renovation of the old courthouse, which was built in 1892, one of the oldest standing structures in Dallas. It has just been renovated. It's now a visitor center as well. The irony of this, you'll find this kind of interesting, though, except for the Dow Tex building, every building in Dealey Plaza is a government building. Either the county or the county records building, the county administration building. The county owns the old courthouse, the post office annex. They're all government buildings except for Dow Tex.
There was a big move to take down the depository, and it really took some political fighting to keep it up. But after the assassination, they wanted to remove the depository. And I can't remember the name of the city councilman who waged a successful fight to keep it.
In 1972, somebody torched the school book depository. I had that, and then it was unsuccessful. They really tried to burn it down.
It's a pretty good article on that by William Weston in the 4th decade of the history of the building.
Okay.
Yes. And an oilman named Bird, who has been the intermittent owner. Please join me in thanking Doug Weldon, Robert Groden, Roy Schaefer for a wonderful presentation.